So about 4 or 5 weeks ago, there was a story about the way Fox News was reporting on the coronavirus. Put up my tweet. I responded to this tweet. This is about 4 or 5 weeks ago, right? Let's take a look at this. Yeah, here it is. How right-wing pundits are covering coronavirus. This is in the New York Times. Following President Trump's lead, many commentators have played down fears. And this was, I guess it was March 11th. So a little more than maybe 6 weeks ago. In 6 months, someone will create a graphic showing clusters of coronavirus deaths and how they correlate with high Fox News viewership. Okay, I apologize. I was wrong because someone came up with this in just a month and 10 days or so. There's a study that is now out. It has not been peer-reviewed. It's from economists Leonardo Bernstein, Akash Rao, Christopher Roth, David Yanagzawa Drott, and it focused on Fox News programming in February and early March. Using both a poll of Fox News viewers over age 55 and publicly available data on television watching patterns, they calculate that Fox viewers who watched Hannity rather than Tucker Carlson,
right?
So they're both on Fox. It's really controlling for stuff. We're less likely to adhere to social distancing rules, and that areas where more people watched Hannity relative to Carlson. I mean, think about this. This is just a disparity within Fox News viewers versus Fox News viewers versus the rest of the population.
Right.
Had higher local rates of infection and death. Quote, greater exposure to Hannity relative to Tucker Carlson tonight leads to a greater number of COVID-19 cases and deaths, they write. A one standard deviation increase in relative viewership of Hannity relative to Carlson is associated with approximately 30% more COVID-19 cases on March 14th and 21% more COVID-19 deaths on March 28th. It's a working paper. Hasn't been peer-reviewed, hasn't been published in a journal yet, but it is completely predictable. And I think we're going to see more of this. And so when these guys were on there hyping hydroxychloroquine as like it's just motivating people to not take things like social distancing seriously, to not take this entire thing seriously. And now we have the CDC that is basically telling us when we get to the fall, because here's the thing, again, the virus is not going away. Mm-mm. It's very possible that we have a much higher percentage of the population that has had it than we know, because we know that there are cases that are asymptomatic. There's data coming out of some of these like prisons where everybody has it, apparently. In Ohio, where a huge number of people were asymptomatic, had it asymptomatic. Hard to know, but it's conceivable. It's one hypothetical that at least is plausible, that many of us have already had it. And, particularly coming out of a place like New York.
Yeah.
And we just don't know it because there's no testing for antibodies yet. But
I think Matt was saying in the prep that, South Korea, where they have great testing and an incredible health service and they basically are testing, I don't know if everybody, but they are testing a lot.
Testing asymptomatic.
They're testing. Yeah. And so I think it was a 29 or 30%. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but massive difference. Yeah.
Than what it was in Italy, where they're just testing people who have
right.
who are showing symptoms.
Who are showing symptoms. Yeah.
And so it's conceivable this is the case. But regardless, even if not, they suspect that maybe 1% of the population right now in America has got it. But even if they're wrong and it's, let's say, 15% or 20%, the fact of the matter is the virus is still there. It is just as contagious. It is just as lethal. When we get to the fall, we're going to have our annual flu epidemic. Now, people hopefully will be able to get flu shots. I imagine they will be, they're There will be an attempt to get more flu shots, but it's unclear to me that they'll be able to produce more. I hope they're starting to do that now, but it's also difficult to predict maybe this far out which strain of flu vaccine is the best one for them. It's going to be, could be theoretically harder to get flu shots because people might be less inclined to go into their pharmacy full of people to get a flu shot, or their doctor or wherever. But even if we presume the same amount of flu vaccination that people generally get in the fall, the fact is, we've heard this ad nauseum, 25 to 60,000 people a year die of the flu.
Right.
Now it's somewhat predictable, but which is good because then we know, but the problem that we're going to have is if we are out in the open, and this year, apparently the number of flu deaths was lower because for a month or two in March, people were staying at home and there was less traveling of the flu virus, just the regular flu virus. But if we are out and about, we're not only going to have the flu virus, on top of it, we're going to have coronavirus, which means that our hospitals are going to be even more jammed than they were those weeks in March, where we nearly tipped the scales. So that's why the CDC is warning against what we're seeing in these southern states and whatnot now. Here is Bill Barr